Okay, we're doing something a little bit different this fall on the Gravity Podcast. We're launching a series featuring interviews with the experts from our Grow Transformational Wellness Program, exclusively for residents of our greenhouse community. The year-long program is made up of monthly learnings designed to help residents build habits for a better life. Each month, a new wellness topic is introduced by an expert in that area. I'm excited for you to hear from each guest on their journey to becoming an expert and finding their passion for helping others through wellness practice. Tune in this fall to hear their inspiring stories. For more information on the Grow program, visit livinggreenhouse.com. As I said, this program is exclusively for our greenhouse residents today. So please, if you have somebody that's interested in looking for a community like Greenhouse, please check out the website and shoot us a note if this is something that you'd like to learn more about as a non-resident. We're also considering potentially over time expanding this program outside of the physical community and into our virtual community as well. So enjoy our guests, our experts, and check us out at livinggreenhouse.com. Okay, today's guest on the Gravity Podcast is Kara Shaffer. Kara is a certified personal trainer and owner of Kara Shaffer Moves, specializing in strength training. Kara's passion for teaching drives her business and helping her clients achieve their fitness goals. We discussed Kara's journey to finding her calling after spending her childhood as a competitive gymnast. Kara shares how her self-image was impacted and how she ultimately learned to embrace fitness again after a period of self-discovery. Kara is also the movement expert for the Grow Transformational Wellness Program at our greenhouse community and provides in-person fitness instruction and helpful tools to empower residents in achieving their fitness goals. It's great to spend time with Kara. I have gotten to know Kara a little bit as she is doing some work with my wife, Katie. You'll hear us talk about that, but really seeing just the intention and the technical expertise and the joy and passion and love for what she does up close and personal, and the difference it's made in my family and so many others. It's just awesome to know Kara, have a chance to really hear her full story and to share it with you. Enjoy. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. You're involved now as one of our experts in the Grow program at Greenhouse, and we're doing a series of podcasts where all the experts are coming in talking about their journey to work they're doing, and then we'll talk a little bit about Greenhouse and Grow and everything else. But yeah, you've been a really welcome addition to our family, and you're working with Katie. She really just has gotten so much out of not just the physical aspect of it, but just the relationship and just, kind of what you bring to her day. And I want to say that because I think it really matters. It really makes a big difference to Katie. And when she's feeling good and she's feeling strong and she's, happy, then it makes a difference in my life and everyone else's. And especially, sorry, I'm going to talk about Katie here for a second, but
so good. She's so wonderful.
Well, and she would probably hate it that I am, but she wasn't somebody that was a weightlifter.
Yeah.
She was always an exerciser as long as I've known her, but she wasn't interested and maybe even had some kind of thoughts, stories about weightlifting.
Yeah.
So to see her really connecting dots about what it does for health.
Yeah.
And then how that makes you feel, right? And then how that kind of bleeds into the rest of your life, which is also something that I've learned later in life too. It's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a real credit to you.
Oh, thank you.
And because of the way in which you do it, you really are extremely knowledgeable. And you're very calculated in how you work with people in a way that is truly, I think, from what I understand, designed to really support them in their physical and really in their mental health as well.
Thank you. I truly think it's my life's purpose just to teach. I love movement. I love people, and it's really fun to help people, or specifically Katie, just feel strong within her body. She's capable of so many things, and it's nice to have the support system of someone else just kind of guiding and supporting just to do that. It's truly amazing to witness.
Yeah, cool. And so let's back up.
Okay.
Because, when you say you think this is your life's purpose, to teach, right? And it's maybe you know that now. I want to know what led you to this. So let's talk, about the very beginning. Like, who were you as a little kid, your family? Like, what was the early life like?
Yeah. So I am from Ohio. I grew up in Findlay, more specifically Liberty Township. So a very small county school. I grew up a competitive gymnast. So pretty much from the age of 5, I was in the gym, always working out. It really did define me. However,
it did define you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Moving constantly as a kid, just always exercising. And the funny thing is, I'm kind of the only person in my family that does exercise or started it. My mom or dad, neither of them were really big into movement. And then when I was a little kid, I was like playing on the playground, doing cartwheels in the backyard. They're like, okay, let's sign her up for gymnastics.
So they saw you kind of, cartwheels just and thought, well, she'll probably be interested in doing gymnastics. It wasn't something they had any background in.
Absolutely not. Yeah. No, my mom played no sports growing up. My dad was a soccer player in high school. Like, nothing extreme. Oh yeah, this was like, oh, she's climbing, she's going to get hurt. Let's sign her up for gymnastics.
Okay.
I could point my toes, straighten my legs. They're like, do you want to do team? My mom said, okay, sure, why not? And it's really crazy to kind of think of that because, not to jump too far ahead, but I coached gymnastics for a really long time prior to personal training, but kind of going back to childhood. So the fact that I was in gymnastics for a long time was great. I really grew up in the gym.
Sorry, just to interrupt you, just so I'm clear. When you say you grew up in the gym and you were around, exercise, was it really gymnastics specific, or were you also getting introduced to weightlifting or other things at that point in your life?
Totally gymnastics specific.
Gymnastics specific.
That is it. Oh, yeah. This was like...
Your little kid.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. Today, gymnastics is a little bit more mixed in with weights. It's phenomenal to watch just the education around weight training and for younger athletes start to evolve. But no, back when I was practicing, it was strictly gymnastics, calisthenics in the gym. Practice was about 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 times a week. I loved it though. There's nothing that could separate with me from gymnastics. It was my first true love.
What did you love about it? What do you remember loving about it?
Oh man, I don't know how it happened, but I was that disciplined kid. Like I was that kid that was not talking, following directions, super perfectionist. I did put a lot of my self-value and kind of my self-worth in the product that I could produce. So I wanted to win. I wanted to move up. I wanted to get new skills. I wanted my coaches to recognize me. So then I would feel good. It's kind of crazy to look back on and think about, but I loved it. You did not have to tell me twice that I had to go to gymnastics. There was not one day that I didn't want to go.
And what was the internal drive or aspiration to win, to feel good, something that strictly came from you internally, or did your parents put any pressure on you at a certain point that like they also wanted you to excel? So
my parents, my mom is truly my role model. She's wonderful. My parents really did not have a play in my gymnastics at all. They had no clue half the time kind of what I was doing. I'd have to remind them what time my practice was. Mind you, 7, 8 years old. My practice is this day. I have a competition this day. Growing up, it's odd because competitive gymnastics or any kind of club sport usually is associated with families that do have extra income to spend on it. It's expensive. It does require time, money, commitment of families. So when I was around 7, my parents divorced. My mom at the time before that was a stay-at-home mom. She ended up moving out. She had her own place. We grew up in a trailer with her. She was making minimum wage, raising my brother and I. My dad lost his job when I was about maybe 10 or 11 at that time. My dad, undiagnosed bipolar, alcoholic, had a lot of struggles. Looking back on, he's passed away since, but looking back on it, I do have love for him at that time, but he just didn't know. So my parents, my dad we grew up on food stamps on that side. My mom lived on a trailer on this side, but I'm doing competitive gymnastics. So ultimately, I probably would have done it for as long as I could, but we just couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah, interesting. Boy, there's a lot there to unpack. I'm just kind of thinking where to go. I want to kind of just hear more about kind of what that was all like for you, right? Because you have this thing, clearly it gave you a lot of energy. You got a lot of joy out of it, a lot of validation. You're committed. You're working hard.
Yeah.
I was asking about your parents because it seemed like, and this is maybe unfair, but like I feel like a lot of gymnast kids have parents that are like really pushing them hard to do that. So like it's awesome that yours weren't.
Yeah.
I think it's better that it was coming from you internally, right?
Yeah.
But then you do have, some intense other family dynamics going on with both your mom and your dad. And I'm wondering, I believe me, I get, my dad was also an alcoholic and has passed, and I understand a lot of the complexity of all of that, right? But I'm kind of curious, like, well, what was that like for you?
It's kind of funny talking about it. I don't know if I've ever thought about it in a way of, did I seek self-acceptance, or, was I trying to find this like attention seeking in my gymnastics performance? My mom is awesome. Very wonderful mom. Took care of us so well. With my dad, it was a little bit in and out. With having an alcoholic parent, it's some days are good, some days are bad. And usually sometimes the bad outweighs the good, but it's kind of like a roller coaster. And it's almost like, was I trying to succeed so much to get, hello, hi, look at me, I'm over here doing this really great thing. I have a brother too. And the crazy thing is, like, growing up, my brother's athletic now, but he didn't do sports either. The fact that I did gymnastics just cracks me up so often because it's such an extreme sport to do with really no one telling me to do it or I have to. But when I was younger, I was just so obsessed with it. And yeah, it probably did have a little bit to do with, maybe this is how I get attention from my family more.
Yeah. And yet, like, it was sort of just maybe also, this is sometimes a little hard to untangle and, unclear for me still, but I wonder, like, well, how much of this was just sort of your wiring too?
I know.
Right? Like, and it doesn't have to be so black and white. It could be a combination. But when you talk about like being this little kid who's, that your parents recognize without any awareness around gymnastics or sports or competitive athletic anything, they're like, gymnastics, like, look at her. It's natural, right?
Yeah.
So you wonder, like, well, some of that might have just been in your DNA. And then maybe some of it was also like, trying to get this attention from my dad or something that was lacking. I don't know. I mean, when you think about like who you are, and when you start to talk about like, this is why I'm here. I don't know how much of kind of just who you were then is sort of just who you came into this world to be.
It's so pure. I think it's fun. I worked with kids for a while too. And it's just, when something is so natural like that, I do believe that my early childhood, I was meant to be a gymnast. And that was kind of what I rolled with. Yeah. Maybe that's why it was just so natural to be and do.
Yeah. So you stopped doing gymnastics.
Stopped doing gymnastics.
How old were you and what did you turn to next?
Whoever's listening to this, if they were a gymnast, they will laugh, because when I quit, I turned to all-star cheerleading, which is like usually the route people go. It was kind of similar. Like,
does Katie know that?
Yeah.
She's gonna
oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think she definitely knows I did the all-star cheer. Did the all-star cheer route. It was great. But it was a nice segue. It's also a lot of time, commitment, money for a family, but it's just a little bit less than gymnastics. So that was really fun to do. And it's just like, it's so funny thinking back on it too, because even in all-star, little bit gymnastics, we would have travel competitions, and my family couldn't afford to go to them. I would travel with the family. And this is back, I didn't have a cell phone. So I would just go away with teammates, with friends. I'm sure their families, thinking back, if anyone ever listens, want to thank them, because I'm sure they, paid for my dinner, made sure I made it from A to B, did my hair, whatever it was. But oh yeah, did that for about 3 years after that. Okay. And then by that time, I was in high school, transitioned over to school sports.
Okay. So tell me more about, okay, you're in high school. I'm sure sports play a big role, but what else? Like, who are you? What kind of, personality person are you at that age?
When high school, I always say I was neither unpopular. However, I definitely wasn't popular. I was just like nice middle of the pack. I loved boys. I loved my friends. I loved a good time. I wasn't a bad student. However, I wasn't a good student.
Okay.
So at the time, I was very self-motivated. If I wanted to do something, you bet I was going to do it, whether that be work, buy the clothes I want, do a sport. I know we're talking a lot about sports here because it really does define a lot of my childhood.
Okay, yeah.
But oh yeah, I worked in high school, got a job when I was 15 for places that would allow for 15-year-olds to work. Usually it's 16. So I got a job when I was 15. I had to pay for the gas in my car. And so I would use that to hang out with my friends. I lived a really wonderful life. I know I'm kind of going in and talking about some hardships when I was younger, but my mom did a phenomenal job. I lived in a trailer until I was 18, but she did a phenomenal job of providing everything that really she could.
And so it sounds like, there's hardship there. I mean, living in a trailer, food stamps, an alcoholic father, but it sounds like you were living a pretty, relatively normal life.
Relatively
you liked
normal.
Boys, you liked your friends, you liked your sports, you were doing, well enough in school.
Yeah.
Definite, big credit to your mom.
That
doesn't happen by itself.
Oh no, yeah, she has a lot of strength that I really have been noticing within the past couple of years. And it's not to say I actually had a lot of guilt and shame about where I lived in my upbringing, which has been showing up in different ways today, which whether it's a social encounter or for work, if something kind of maybe doesn't go necessarily the way I thought it was, it's easy to blame yourself and just kind of go back to your roots of, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I have this because of this. And that was a really big thing in high school. It was hard growing up, quite different. I did go to a county school, but the county school I went to was nice. My friends had really nice houses. They all had a car when they turned 16 and things like that. So I definitely want to say, and this is kind of sparking a thought in my head now, I really did have to fake it until I made it. A lot of me in high school was having a fun time, having a good time, but having to be resourceful and kind of create the life that I wanted to live to fit in with my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. That is actually fascinating because I think it's very real, right? I'm just imagining, what it was like for you when you say that you had some shame about where you lived and how you were growing up and your parents, your families. Everybody else has got something that looks on the surface at least like way better. In reality, it probably wasn't in a lot of ways, right? I mean, you at least had this loving mother and had everything you needed, but the appearance of it could be shameful. And kids are tough, right? And I don't know if you experienced any of that, but kids do judge, people do judge, not just kids, right? And so there is this probably thing that is really going on inside that you're not talking about, you're not sharing, which is some sort of insecurity or you feel inferior or something, right? Shame.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so you say fake it till you make it. And I think that's fair. You were not able to really show that side of you. But you were also just determined to have a life and not let that keep you also from doing the things you wanted to do with the other kids.
Yeah, it wasn't an option. I'm have always been very driven and ambitious ever since I was a little kid, playing on the playground, doing cartwheels or whatever, hanging on the bar. It's never been an option to not do something or not get what I've set out to do. And it's kind of fun to think about high school being like, oh yeah, it wasn't an option not to hang out, do what my friends are doing, or just try and get there. And I would always find a way to be resourceful and do it.
Interesting. So, like what did making it look like to you? Like how, I know like fitting in and kind of having like a normal life, but where did you end up going with that next?
So after high school, graduated, went to University of Toledo, go Rockets, only for one semester. It was okay.
Okay.
There was really no reason I went to college. There really wasn't. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I said I wanted to be a teacher, which is funny. I'm kind of a teacher now.
Yeah.
But my mom was awesome during that time. She didn't push college on me at all. I pushed college on myself because I was like, this is what people do. This is what I should go. I'll find my job.
Everybody else is doing it.
Exactly.
Seems like it's sort of like just in the air. It's like what you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with love, she did tell me, yeah, I didn't really think that you were meant to go your first year right after high school. It's kind of funny. Like now with age, I'm like, how are you supposed to know what exactly you want to do right when you're around 17, 18 years old?
Right.
So I went to University of Toledo. Wasn't for me. I had an okay time. Struggled a little bit with movement and body image. I did cheerleading at the University of Toledo, which was fun, but it was very hard mentally on me. So it's kind of fun. This can pivot in different ways of relating back to gymnastics and movement as a kid. I have known my body size since I was 6 years old. And with that,
what do you mean by that?
Oh man, my coaches, my nickname was Little Bubba. I was like kind of like a shorter, they would call me a thick gymnast. And so it was really known that I was a powerful gymnast. That's like, if anyone, they'll know. If you're over a gymnast and you were called powerful, it just basically means that maybe you were a little bit larger, maybe you didn't have as much flexibility, and that you were powerful.
Gotcha.
Which is cool, but it can also be, mind you, late 90s, early 2000s, what is in trend, what's in style.
Right.
It's not necessarily the curves. I'm 6, I don't have curves, but I'm in a leotard all the time. So I've known about my size for forever.
Yeah.
And wanting to fit in high school looks like maybe not eating as much, maybe doing certain different diets. I've always known about my size. So when I graduated high school, is okay with my eating. I go to University of Toledo, where I'm a cheerleader. I start drinking. Of course, I'm going to parties. I'm having a great time. The freshman 15 is real. And I really, really, really struggled. Really bad eating disorder at that time. So that entire semester was really tough mentally on me. I really kind of fell off as far as eating, self-love, self-respect. And yeah, that was a really tough time for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how did you deal with that? What happens? I mean, I know you go to school for a semester.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Eating disorders, can be something that sticks with you a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that, I think it's something that I'll be forever working on. So what that looks like, pivoting from Toledo, really struggling with certain body image issues. The cheerleading uniform doesn't help. Every woman at Toledo that does cheerleading, they have to be a flyer. So stunts, they have to go up. That was really hard for me. I'm 5'8". I'm not that small. So I was always kind of this mental block of saying I need to be smaller so that it's easier for the guys to lift me, which always, always, always results into kind of, a binge type of relationship with food and overly exercising, really, really, really depriving to the point of then going the other direction. So after Toledo, I ended up moving to Columbus. My moving to Columbus story is very funny. I decided within 2 weeks I did not want to go to Toledo anymore. My brother went to OSU. He took an internship at Honda. I had $30 in my bank account, and I moved everything from Toledo to Columbus into his room. No plan on going to school, no plan on a job, nothing. Just kind of uprooted everything and moved. But it was not that hard. I don't have a plan B. I've never had oh, if I try this and it doesn't work out, I can just go home. I can just do this. It's like, no, this has to work. So I was very confident in myself. I just moved right to Columbus.
You had a good relationship with your brother, obviously.
Yeah, great relationship with my brother. We did butt heads a little bit, but no, he's awesome. And so I moved to Columbus and made some friends, hung out on campus a lot, did get in the wrong crowd of a little bit of the punk scene, partied way too much. And the funny thing is, with having really poor body image issues at Toledo, moving to Columbus, partying, drinking 4 or 5 times a week, it almost was, it's not that I was thinking about it. It almost just masked kind of what I was going through mentally. Oh, I'm down on myself. Oh, I'm going to go hang out with my friends, party, do whatever, forget about it. And it was just kind of like this vicious cycle that went back and forth. And the thing that got me out of it was I started coaching gymnastics. So always, I don't know how everything goes back to gymnastics, but I started coaching it. I found a job on Craigslist. I started working at a gym in Gahanna. And the demand of the job is physically demanding, spotting, waking up early. Classes are sometimes early in the morning, was just impossible to live a party lifestyle with. So at that time, I moved to Columbus in 2014, January 2014, got a job working at the gymnastics gym a couple months later. By that time, it was about 1 year of working at the gymnastics gym, still drinking, still hanging out with my friends, really living the college lifestyle, nothing abnormal. 2015, I really stopped drinking a ton and naturally started to dive into healthier habits.
Interesting. So I was wondering, when you, in hindsight, go back and you look at, the eating disorder, the drinking, the partying, and listen, like, you're in college, so it's also like a really common thing for people to do. But I wonder, in your case, you talked a little bit about, kind of, let's go hang out with my friends and party as a way to like cope. I wonder how much of what you did experience as a kid, which it sounds like you've like really compartmentalized and maybe like processed and navigated very well, all things considered, but like, you're a human being. You were a little girl. Like, you saw some things, you heard some things were happening, you were aware of things like that has to get into you and affect you.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how much of the sort of partying and the, other stuff, was really about that little girl who, had to experience all of that.
That's good. Fitting in? Probably. Definitely. Fitting in, being the cool girl.
Yeah.
Maybe finding a new image. And it's funny, because you would not recognize me in 2014. I looked totally different. It was fun, though. I was trying to impress.
What was the look?
Oh, shaved head. Maybe, a little bit bigger. I wasn't working out at all.
Yeah.
I just didn't care.
Yeah.
But that was...
do you have head tattoos?
No, I don't have any head tattoos. Wouldn't that have been great, though? That would be the best.
You go, Frank. I just want Ruderman shaved head. I'm just trying to get the real visual.
Oh, but mind you, I am broke as broke at that time. I did not have, I actually didn't have hardly any tattoos at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
fitting in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to like project onto you, but like, I also did a lot of fitting in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids are doing that. Some though are pretty grounded and just themselves. But the drinking, the partying, for me, it was a lot of numbing and trying to fit in and feel something that I didn't feel inside.
Totally. That's 100% how I felt.
And so you get this job. It's interesting also, like, I think the sobriety thing is interesting, or like getting awareness around drinking. I think sometimes jobs do that to you. Not always, though.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think when you got to wake up early and when you got to be on and especially if it's physical, you start to really think about it.
Yeah.
But some people can't shake that.
I know.
And so, it sounds like that was the beginning of you starting to, clean up.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Oh, yeah. Starting to clean up. So I was coaching gymnastics. I ended up starting a competitive team out of the gym. So crazy to think I was 19 years old running a competitive team. It was great. I really loved my job at the time. I'm very purpose driven, and that was something I could pour myself 100% into. And it's almost nostalgic in a way. I lived that lifestyle as a kid. The gym that I worked at, it was all walks of life, which was very refreshing in the world of competitive gymnastics, where it is wealthy families, normally wealthy white families, who are doing it. We had tons of diversity. We had kids of all backgrounds coming in. So it was really fun and fulfilling to coach that and be with them and just be a mentor.
Awesome that the owners of the gym or your bosses, whoever, let this 19-year-old take this on. I mean,
yeah.
I was wondering, if that is that like sort of more of like because gymnasts are often young and get into it early, that they saw you as like mature enough, old enough to do that. I mean, you're only 19 though. It sounds like a pretty big responsibility for a 19-year-old.
I think my boss took a really good chance on me. It was just going to see if it could work, and it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just view so many things in my life that just crack me up. And there's things that really do happen every day where I notice that people do put a lot of trust into me. And I do wear that with a lot of pride. I am it's my integrity, and I honor that. But it's very funny how much trust people do give me on the regular.
Yeah. And so, boy, I think that's earned though. And maybe there's a bit of a leap of faith, but maybe it's also sort of how you carry yourself and also your reputation. And I think pretty quickly people see you as somebody that is trustworthy.
Yeah.
That you know what you're talking about, that you're convicted about how you do things. I think there's also things like, and I don't know this about you, but I'm assuming, based on what you've described yourself to this point, you're disciplined, so you're timely, you're not canceling on people, you're not, late, you're trustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah. It just goes into your character. I think that's a really big part. I want to be able to show up for people.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens? How do you're on this journey now?
This is so good. I'm in the gymnastics world still. Okay.
Yeah.
Coaching gymnastics. Oh man, we were terrible in the beginning. Absolutely terrible. I had no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. Mind you, I don't have experience coaching gymnastics. I am YouTube taught. Learning competitive gymnastics is very, very specific. I had an advantage because I did it, but this was like 10 years ago by that, almost that time when I was like really in the heart of doing gymnastics and now coaching it.
Just curious, when you say YouTube taught, did you teach yourself how to coach gymnastics on YouTube?
Literally on YouTube.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome though?
The gym I worked at, we didn't have the funds. We are not a big name gym. We didn't have a competitive team. So we're not gymnastics is very old school. Usually gyms, they know what they're doing. They're really producing good gymnastics for many, many decades. We're a new gym, totally taught on YouTube. No one taught me how to teach. We didn't have a budget for me to go to any training seminars. So I just kind of had to figure it out. Oh God. And we were terrible in the beginning, but eventually I kind of, learned a lot.
Do you think that you were terrible because you were learning how to coach?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I asked that because I think that it matters maybe more than people think. I think sometimes people think it's about the talent, but it's
coaching is hard.
Yeah.
And it's funny looking at what I do now is I actually had 9 years of practice with kids. Coaching kids is hard. Because it's not just the kids, but it's the parents. Mm-hmm. That's always known. And I had great parents, and I had some parents that were a little bit tougher. But I'm grateful for them now. It really teaches you how to interact, what to say, how to treat people with kindness. Oh, I've made millions of mistakes. Yeah. All the mistakes of people are. If you're sitting there being like, oh, I've made this mistake saying this wrong thing to someone or acting this way, oh, I've done that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The parents are tough.
It's tough.
Not just in gymnastics, in any sport. I see it. I'm around the tennis team at Ohio State a lot. and just tennis in general. It's just always the parents.
Club sport. It's because it's so much, you're dedicating so much, the family's dedicating so much.
Yeah.
And of course you want the best for your kid. I 100% agree. I don't have kids yet, but I would want my kid to succeed. But it's hard.
Well, the problem is, and I think this is also just like a problem that parents have in general, but it's worse with sports, is they don't actually know what's best for the kid.
They don't know what's best.
Yeah. And they think they do.
No participation awards.
Yeah.
Earn it.
Yeah.
Be realistic in the sport. Not everyone will succeed. And that's okay. What a beautiful thing. Side tangent. Gymnastics is awesome. It's a great sport for kids to do, but it's really hard if you're a little bit older and you start. Maybe it could be the same for tennis or other club sports, but usually the kids that start a little bit earlier, they do have an advantage, especially if they get really good basics and a good foundation. And there's nothing wrong with trying gymnastics or trying tennis or trying something and not being the greatest at it, maybe not playing, maybe not moving up a level if you're in gymnastics, and being okay with it and moving on in life. That's the hardest part with parents, is they always get stuck of, she needs to move up, he needs to play, whatever it is more. Just let things naturally happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think that a good coach can make up for what the kid might be lacking in talent, or maybe started later. That if the parents let the coach do their thing,
just let them do their thing,
then you can actually get ahead even.
Yes. Oh yeah. And then 1000%. And it really helps with the development of the team aspect of it, and later on in life, just really kind of finding someone that you can really trust into and follow a program, and not divert the program just because someone is telling you to do it.
Right. Or because you think you know better.
Or you think you know better.
Yeah. All right. So you guys get good?
We get good-ish. If there was a team, if we're doing a competition, we'll be like third.
Okay.
That makes me happy.
Okay.
I'm like great with a good third place.
You're on the podium.
We're on the podium.
Yeah.
The last spot on the podium, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I was really proud of myself. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
We had some girls doing some big gymnastics of double backflips and flips with twists and some really great things. So it was fun to watch. And then COVID hit. So right before COVID hit, the plan was with my gym was I was going to open another location. I wasn't going to coach competitive gymnastics anymore. Competitive gymnastics takes a team to run a good team. Great staff, committed staff. But the hours of gymnastics are really hard. We practice from about 4 to 8, 4 to 9 every day. It's not really enough to provide someone with a full-time salary. So usually finding staff was nearly impossible.
I was wondering, was that a full-time gig for you?
Yeah, it was full-time.
So you're full-time doing that. Mm-hmm. And what else is kind of going on in your life at that point, as far as like your own health and wellness journey, or what else is going on outside of the full-time gig?
So gymnastics is starting to get good. And I am now conditioning with the girls. I'm working out a little bit more. I'm spotting bigger skills. And so I'm starting to get a little bit stronger. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should start exercising. So I got a membership at the Gahanna YMCA. And I showed up in that parking lot 2 times, leaving both times, until the third time I parked my car and I finally went in. And me working out, it looked like me in high school with track. I'm like running on the treadmill, and then maybe I do the machines once or twice. Doing okay body image. I'm doing okay. I'm not drinking as much, so I'm not like eating junk food at night. So I'm feeling a little bit more confident in my body. I'm getting a little bit more into shape, but I'm still trying to work out to be smaller. Like that was my intention with working out. I'm going to run. I'm going to do lightweight for a ton of reps on these machines, and I'll go home. But fitness is starting to brew inside. Then in 2018, I'm teaching, and I'm like, I'm coaching gymnastics. I love it, but there's just no money in the sport. Mm-hmm. I'm just realistic. So now I'm like, okay, I need to think of my future. I need to start making more money. And there was a fitness gym inside the gymnastics gym. And the trainer said, why don't you get your personal training certification and start training adults out of the gym? So I was like, okay, why not? Mm-hmm. Oh man, those tests are so funny to get your personal training certification. It is literally, you just pay. And I don't even think I got half the questions right. Yeah. I just click. It took about a year to do. I don't want to like knock anybody that's trying to get their personal training certification and they think it's all within the certification. But I cannot tell you one thing that I learned through specifically the certification itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of how I feel about college. So you only
click.
That's really, I'm like, I learned a lot, but it wasn't, on the clicks. So, yeah. Okay. So that opens up.
It opens up. I'm doing that. Oh man, I have like one client. It's great. And I still have that client to this day.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. She's wonderful. Chrissy is truly one of the best people in my life. So
awesome.
I started, I didn't know what I was doing. Same thing with gymnastics. And then I do a lot of research, and I guess I just resourceful. I finesse my way in, and I listen to people who are smarter than me. I listen to people who I really enjoy their energy, watching and consuming, maybe whether it's their content or listening to a podcast and following the research. So in the beginning, when I was training, I wasn't doing compound lifts. I wasn't doing weight training. I was doing more cardio, training other people and training myself, more cardio. Again, the goal is to be as small as possible. How many calories can I burn? But 2018, it's starting to flip a little bit, but I would say that's when HIIT was really popular too still. People are still posting the picture of their Apple Watch of how many calories they burned after the end of the session, and that's how you depict if you had a good workout or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So does this start to become, you're starting to realize like, you seem like somebody that likes to kind of master things or wants to really excel, right? If you're going to do something, if you're excited about it, if you're starting to feel connected to it, you really want to learn it at a deep level and like be an expert in it. Yeah. And so you're starting to feel like, okay, this is something I could really go deep on.
At that time, it was something that could make me money.
Make you money. Okay, fine.
If I'm being realistic.
Yeah.
It was something that could make me money. I wanted to be good at it, but I didn't have the right mentors in place, only stuff I was consuming.
Okay.
So I would be like, oh, I like this workout. Let me do this.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that was the result of that. I feel sore, so on and so forth. So when COVID hit, 2020, gymnastics gyms were the first to shut down, last to come back. Lost during that time. I was training people via Zoom every single day. As if you wanted to work out with me for free, I'd be like, all right, come on, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So really, really just the entire time during COVID, trying to navigate what to do with my time. I knew I wasn't coaching competitive gymnastics during COVID. Mm-hmm. But when I was going to go open a new gym right before, during COVID, the gym didn't have money to open up that facility anymore. So it was like, okay, Kara, now what are we going to do? We were going to move you in this direction, and now you're kind of just back to kind of nothing. 2021, I coached competitive gymnastics again. It was okay. We were mediocre at best. I didn't have a staff. We had some new girls join. We lost a lot of kids because of COVID, and I wasn't coaching anymore. They went to other gyms. And then 2021, I knew that it was time to call it with coaching gymnastics. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew it wanted to be something with fitness. So I started doing a little bit of online training. Online training's okay. I think it had its time and place, but I just love people too much. I don't want to communicate with someone just via text all day.
Yeah.
So it is 2022 by that point. I am meeting with a friend who's a trainer. He's giving me some advice. And I decide, you know what? Hey, I'm going to contact some local gyms in the area in Columbus and see if anyone's hiring. Contacted a gym, met with that person. The vibe wasn't right. DM'd my boss currently, hey, are you hiring any trainers? Met with him, and then I was working the next day.
Wow. And backing up, you said something like you knew you were ready to be done with gymnastics. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious about why, and also like you were so clear about that despite not really knowing where you were going to go, what you were going to do.
Yeah.
So to make that kind of a jump without that clarity, it sounds like there's some kind of conviction about it that you just knew internally it was time.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun. It's fun talking about it, but there was a lot to do with it. Financial reasons, workplace dynamic, stress.
Yeah. You were just done. And you knew it.
I knew it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew it.
And so you quickly find your current boss.
Quick. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what was it about, you said there wasn't a chemistry fit with the first trainer or first group. What was it about this group that felt like a quick, this is it?
It had to do with, I really respected the gym. They prioritize strength training, which I really enjoy. By this time, I'm starting to really get into, I need to do, repeat some workouts, learn actually how to barbell, kettlebell, or dumbbell lift, squat, hinge, horizontal press, vertical pull. I need to learn these great exercises that really everything is the foundation out of. And this gym really prioritized it. I love the aesthetic of the gym. I love the location. I love the people who were there. And it was just really a no-brainer at that time.
Yeah, I find that I work out at home most of the time. But as you know from being in our house, the atmosphere of the space that you work out in, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why, Katie likes working out with you, because like that's part of the experience. I think the experience, whether it be the physical space and what it looked like, the aesthetic, or the people, the energy, maybe even like the intention or ethos of the space.
Like
it does seem to really matter, right?
It matters a lot.
And it doesn't mean it has to be like fancy and bougie and all high design. And sometimes maybe it's better if it's not.
Yeah.
But there is like an energetic thing that's important about a space.
Yeah. It's totally the energetic thing. And that's the beauty of it. There's so many options.
Yeah.
Where you're at doesn't have to be for everyone. And once you find something you like, and it could change, but if it fits for the time being, run with it. Or start and then form an opinion. What do you like? What do you not like?
Mm-hmm. See, I'm not that knowledgeable about like the different philosophies of exercise. But it does sound like you made a shift from, what you described as like cardio and HIIT and calories and maybe that has fallen out of favor for good reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sort of just like an evolution of health and wellness. But from what I know of what you do, it is very like technical, and it's very based in like, I'm going to say science, but I don't know if it's just like, if it's, research or it almost like it's like medical almost, right?
Ooh, that's such a good way to put it. I'm really lucky. I have a really good support system. Phenomenal trainers and body workers in Columbus are some of my really good friends, smarter than me, and then I get to learn from them. But my goal is, I know everyone has their own preference, their own way to move, but I kind of want to be respected from everyone. I want the guy who's deadlifting 500 pounds in his basement, or the person maybe teaching a high intensity or Pilates or yoga class, to respect the movement that I'm teaching. It's basic. It really is. I think I really dove into this type of, kind of this just overall strength training, the basics of movement, building muscle, when I finally stopped exercising to be smaller. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest, probably a revolutionary thing. And I'm not sure if I can pinpoint it to a moment. I think just overall, maybe content I was consuming online, or new friends I was making who were also into strength training. I've always been athletic, but it's almost like I've been trying to hide it a little bit. I used to only work out with long sleeves or sweatshirts on. I was afraid to show my shoulders. I have gymnastic shoulders, but I'm so proud of them now. So when I actually started lifting, like, how much can I do? Can I still do pull-ups again? Can I do these things that maybe I was just like meant to do? It's way more fun. It's very fulfilling. And this is how you actually create a workout routine that sticks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about, I think it's a good segue into what we're doing with Grow and with you and Greenhouse, because I find that what we're trying to do is really meet people where they are, and also build habits that really can collectively transform and really enhance, improve your life, how you feel, how you move, how you, your being, your state of mind, your relationships. And it does seem to all work together, right? And the movement piece is really important.
Isn't that crazy to think about too?
Yeah.
That movement has so many pivots and how you can relate it to so many other things in life.
Yeah.
It's 2024. It's almost essential to have some sort of movement. And my biggest thing is I'm not trying to knock certain types of movement. Sure, I really promote strength training. I specialize in kettlebell, which is a whole nother segment. I dove very deep within the past year with kettlebell training. I teach Pilates, but at the end of the day, people just need to move. As a society that might not move as much, move, find what you love to do and just do it.
So talk a little bit about like what you will do. The way I'm imagining this, and it's like, it's yours to do whatever you want with it, your movement for our GROW program.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit though about like, how do you introduce people to the concept? I mean, if not everybody's going to start, swinging kettlebells or, right, hanging from bars or whatever else, like where do you start? What are the basics around movement that you think are really foundational for people to just, start with?
Show up, smile, have fun, find something you enjoy. So if I can only speak from personal experience, so I'll just kind of use an example. I get new people all the time, have never lifted weights before. Maybe we're doing yoga a lot or walking or runners, and they're wanting to start strength training. First things first is kind of just setting the expectation that I want my clients to lift, or I want people to exercise in a way that they feel good today, but leave some for tomorrow too. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. When you're starting a fitness routine, find something that is very maintainable and something that you look forward to. So just to get really granular with it, when I have new people join, it's always introduction. This is where things are. Familiarize yourself, laugh, have fun, feel very comfortable. And then start with some basic exercises and basic movements. I do recommend it. I want to speak in a way because I did not grow up with money. And so I know that having a trainer or joining classes, it is financially demanding. It is very beneficial to have someone to help you. It could be YouTube, I guess. I did learn to coach gymnastics off of YouTube. But finding a way to learn the basic moves or doing something at a lower risk of injury is really, really essential. Working on some sort of mobility, breathing. Then after that, working on the basic movement patterns. Maybe it is learning how to hinge at your hips or squat, or how your arms your shoulders can move in different positions, and various positions of your spine that you can utilize for different exercises. It really is never ending.
Do you find that people don't want to go slow and learn proper technique and movement and form because they just want to I'm thinking like guys like just bench press and curl and they just want to lift heavy weight.
They want to lift heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely see a mix, and people want to go. It's all or nothing. More is better. That's kind of a mentality that a lot of us are in. Might be slowly starting to shift the other direction. Hopefully it's starting to find a little bit more of a blend. Now there's nothing wrong with going hard. I think that there are times and movements and places for it. It really comes down to what's the longevity in what you're doing.
Okay, so we started talking about this a little bit with what's his name?
I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong. Hakeem Tafari.
Okay, well you would do better than I did. But I just happened to stumble upon him in this Rich Roll podcast. I wasn't familiar with him, but he's obviously well known in that world. And what was interesting to me, what we started to touch on, is the addictive piece of this. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, for me, I love to exercise. it does a lot for me.
Same.
And I literally, some days, like actually today, I haven't worked out, but I played tennis this morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play 9 holes with my son later today, and I will work out when I get home. Now my workouts are like 15, 20 minutes, but I do them every day.
I love it.
And that's just made up. No, I just sort of what works for me. But if I don't exercise, if I don't move my body, it feels, doesn't feel good to me. Now I will take a day off, but not that often. I'm usually doing something pretty much every day. At least like on a day, I'm definitely going to take a walk with Katie.
Yeah.
If they don't do tennis in the morning, I'll get my backpack and rock. I used to run. I was running marathons for a while. I have an addictive personality. It doesn't feel like an addiction to me. It feels, I mean, maybe it's a healthy addiction. It just feels good.
I know.
To be moving, to be sweating, to be working on something. I don't know. I just enjoy it. And I'm curious, your thoughts on, where that line is. People could argue, well, they love ultras, they love the training. They love the communal aspect of it.
Yeah.
They love being in nature. How do you,
I know.
I mean, is it just an internal thing?
When does it become an addiction?
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that I do not have the answer to this. I know I am in the hyper movement category. I love the feeling. I put a lot of my self-worth into what I can do physically, what I can teach. I am dating someone who is super into cardio. So I'm also running, cycling, doing all these things. Oh, it's an addiction for sure. I'm almost 10 months sober now. Have I replaced some of what I once was with movement? Has it stemmed from being a kid? Yeah. And this is the fun part. No one has it all figured out. Just because I have fitness figured out, just because I exercise a lot, it might look from the outside that, oh man, Kara has it all together, but we don't. Everyone has their certain areas. Maybe I have health and fitness and sleep and maybe other things of wellness are very filled up in my cup, but maybe other areas of my life, and not maybe, they are lacking a little bit. To have a well-blended life is very hard to structure. I love movement. It's just fun. When it's your lifestyle. So this is really a cool part with it. Maybe you are someone that just started training. It doesn't have to be with me. It can be with anyone. Maybe you started doing Pilates. Maybe you started playing basketball on the tennis court. It really transitions into other areas. Like you said, I'm going to go on a walk. Then I'm going to play 9 holes. We're meant to move as a society, as humans. We're meant to move. I view running as really the most basic way to get from point A to point B as fast as you can. So I'm like, we probably should be able to run. It doesn't have to be an ultra long distance, but we should be able to do basic things. But I love the transition of how it's really an infinity circle. You start to exercise, that transitions into other movements in your life. Now you're hiking on the weekends. Oh, I want to strengthen such and such in my body, so I exercise. And that's really fun to, bring Katie into this. I am witnessing it firsthand. She has added so much strength to her body. It is so phenomenal to witness and to just be a part of. And it's really all her. We're going from lifting 10-pound weights in the beginning to being able to deadlift 145 pounds, being able to do certain pull exercises, things that were even hard just to reach up overhead, doing now weighted kettlebell presses, to wanting to add a 3rd day a weekend, wanting to add another day of Pilates in. It's really wonderful to witness.
Yeah. And it does take like her, the person, to lift the weight, but I don't think without the right person to, and yeah, sure. Like you have to kind of, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, but it's sort of like you didn't vibe with that first boss. Like you need the right teacher too. Yeah. And so it's not just her, it is the combination. And I do think, that's probably the thing about movement and fitness, which I think is probably underrated, is the kind of communal aspect of it, or the connectedness, the relationship piece, whether that be a group class or running with thousands of people in a marathon or a one-on-one trainer, or even just like an online thing, if that's what you can afford, right? Like, just, I think there's something important about, being connected in it that just adds to the overall benefit and value of it.
Oh yeah. I always say I teach like you are in a gym class. It's fun. I think the community aspect, and I think community always gets thrown around a lot, especially recently. I just hear everyone talking about community. But what community really is just kind of being seen and heard and talked to, and like being able to express your feelings. Or actually the most beautiful part about fitness, either me teaching one-on-one in a group. I teach Zoom. That's as far as I kind of go as far as remote or online training. But the most beautiful part about it is watching people communicate in a way that's not bringing in anything personal. Maybe you had a bad day, something happened. Watching clients being able to communicate as in like, how many reps are you doing? What was on your bar? Oh man, that was really hard. It's really fun to see people kind of push aside anything that's going on personally and then dive themselves and totally focus on something as like fitness.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to watch people communicate with.
Yeah. And I think the way that you're describing communication is important, because it's not always about like talking. It's not always about like sharing your lives with each other. There's just like this thing that you do together.
It's the thing you do together.
Yeah. And so like I have that in a few different areas, but like, you're sweating, you're moving, you're working, it's hard, you're doing it, you're out there doing it with other people. And there's a bond and an energy around that. That's
it's so
pretty
good.
Awesome. Yeah.
And people working out with each other for months and months. Another month goes by. By the way, what's your last name? Where do you work?
Right.
And it's so fun to see these things organically grow. And nothing makes me happier than I teach group training, and seeing my group training bring new friendships.
Yeah.
There's everyone. It's beautiful.
It's awesome. Any kind of final thoughts as we wrap up? I'm psyched to have you a part of this program. I think, you bring the right values and expertise and, thought, intention behind movement for what we're doing.
Thank you.
So we're thrilled to have you a part of it. Any final thoughts about anything that you've shared with me today?
Yeah.
I want people to know.
The people need to know that movement is for everyone. Find what you like, do it, show up. It's serious, but not that serious at the same time. Find something that you enjoy doing and find a community that's around it, and really watch it grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful as always. Yeah, really honored to be here, and thank you. Thank you for the experience.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to have you in our lives and part of this community, and just really impressed and excited to see what you're doing and how it's impacting so many people, and I'm sure that's going to continue to expand and grow.
Thank you.
Because I think you're right. You are meant to be doing what you're doing, and it shows. You have a real glow about you when you talk about it. There's a very positive, in your smile and in your eyes. I can just see like this is what you're meant to be doing, and you're really good at it, and people know that, and I'm sure it's just going to continue to expand for you. So
thank you. Yeah. It means more than words. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Kara.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gravity Podcast. Please subscribe to the show at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about the entire Gravity Project, please go to gravityproject.com. Please check out the podcast on Instagram at The Gravity Podcast. Music heard of the show is provided courtesy of Kyle Lamoro and Oliver Oak.